What is up, everybody? Welcome to the NFL Draft Bible Prospect Profits Show. We're on the Fan Nation Network, powered by Sports Illustrated. Today, we're going to talk. We're going to continue our breakdown series. We're going to do a lot of these. I think we're about the halfway point now, um, burning through. The Eagles are on tonight. It's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a great football day. But today, we're not talking the Eagles. We're talking the Panthers and the Jets. In the opposite order, we're going to talk Jets, then Panthers. Fellas, we're at it again. How you guys doing? Lorenz, how you doing today, bud?
Doing all right. Didn't get a lot of sleep. I was just gonna give a shout out to the three of us for looking like people that just don't sleep. I don't know if we do. I usually do. Just didn't last night. I don't know. Alec looks all right, but me, Jack, you look like you could use some extra sleep. But now it's a football Thursday. It's a football Thursday. It's an exciting day. Alec, how are you?
I'm doing good. Did get a nap in right before this, so I'm ready to go. But uh, get to talk about Sam Darnold's former team and Sam Darnold's current team today. So, and Jack, I'm reminding you now. Let's start the show off with the news that just broke.
Yeah. So Carl Lawson, the Jets defensive end, a guy that I'm high on. I did a little study on him last year. Just you said it was an Achilles injury, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Ugh. So he's going to be
done for the season.
Yeah. So that's going to affect today's breakdown. But it's also going to affect him. We hope he's okay. Obviously, I'm a big Carl Lawson fan. I think he was underutilized with the Bengals, which is a common theme in my opinion, with the Bengals. But it's going to be a fun time today. We're going to talk about the Jets first. So talking strictly or their draft class, young foundational talent. They drafted Zach Wilson, the quarterback from BYU. You might have heard of him. Elijah Vera Tucker, the interior offensive lineman from USC. Elijah Moore, the wide receiver from Ole Miss, one of my favorite guys in this draft. Michael Carter, the running back from UNC. Jamien Sherwood, a linebacker from Auburn. Another Michael Carter the second, corner from Duke. Jason Pinnock, the cornerback from Pitt. Hamza Nasruddin, linebacker / safety from FSU. He had a forced fumble the other day at his preseason opener. And then Brandon Eccles, the cornerback from Kentucky. Shout out Dal in the chat, I assume.
So he's here.
No one's here? Or he's not here?
He better be. I'll be yelling at him.
Better be here.
He loves his Kentucky guys. He's a Kentucky man. Brandon Eccles, the corner from Kentucky. Congratulations, Dal. And then in terms of Youngtown on a first-year deal, there's a few guys I looked at for considering for this, but there's two that I can really lock on. Mekhi Becton, obviously, the offensive tackle, absolute stud. And then Quinnen Williams is still on his first-year deal. I don't think the Jets utilize him properly. I really think he's, honest to God, should be a 3-tech. But they use him in a 3-4 in a lot of ways. He's kind of plays 3-4 DN for them. I'm going to consider him a young guy on a talented deal, or a young talent guy on a young cheap deal, even though he hasn't quite shown it yet. He's getting there. I'm a Quinnen Williams guy. I think he's going to.
He'll kill it with Robert Saleh.
Yeah, I think he's going to get better. But I'm including him on this list, gentlemen. What do you think this core group, Lorenz, Jets, this young beginning for this Jets? They got a lot of youth in this team. What do you think about it?
So first of all, the two guys, young studs on a first-year deal that are on a first contract that you mentioned, and Quinnen Williams and Mekhi Becton are absolutely young studs on a rookie deal. At two positions where you absolutely want to have young studs on a cheap rookie deal, both first-round picks. Mekhi Becton is a franchise left tackle. Quinnen Williams is going to be a very good pass rusher for this team, also a good run defender, but he'll get after quarterbacks in this Robert Saleh defense where it's very important to rush the passer. He'll do that. Now getting to the draft class, I wasn't a fan of it, gonna be completely honest. I wasn't a Zach Wilson guy. I thought he was more of a late first, second round type quarterback. But hey, Elijah Vera Tucker, you trade up for a guard. I think Elijah Vera Tucker is a solid player. I just don't love the value aspect of it, but I'm guessing he'll start for them along the interior. Elijah Moore, really like. I think he's going to get plenty of targets this season. He really fits that offense. With his ability to win vertically from the slot. He's also can do some stuff after the catch really fast. I like that pick. Michael Carter is going to do some things, friend of the show, in this backfield. He'll be productive if he does get the touches. Really want to, I thought towards the end of the process, he was almost underrated a little bit. I mean, some people were too high on him, and then there were other people who were, I thought, just too low, because you look at Michael Carter, his ability to catch the ball, make defenders miss, have really great vision. I think he'll be an NFL starter. And then I just want to shout out the Jamian Sherwood and Hamza Nasruddin picks. Those were two guys who I think are going to play more at the second level. I don't know if they call them linebackers, but they might. I just like doubling up on these two guys, especially since Hamza's had some injury issues. But I think those two are going to be used in a versatile way by Robert Saleh. And there's no one that there are few people that develop linebackers and second level defenders as well as Saleh does. So I'm excited about those two guys.
Are you?
We might have lost Jack. Is he frozen for you?
It's probably for you. Yeah, there we go. He's back.
I was saying, I was calling Lorenzo Homer for liking Robert Saleh, but Robert Saleh is obviously very deserving of that. Alec, anything you wanted to chime in there for that Jets roster, for that youth?
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be reliant on Zach Wilson being worth that second pick, and looking at that preseason game, not going to overreact to it, but he showed what he has. He does have a good arm. He can make some throws off platform, which is really what he showed in college, but he's going to have to develop, and they seem to be very pleased with what he's been able to do, but he is going to have to develop. I would say of the four quarterbacks that went that high, I think he was the least likely to start and do well this year. I think it's going to be a real tough transition early. I might look like an idiot in 3 months, but I do think that his transition to the league is going to be a little bit more shaky, but it doesn't mean he won't be a successful starting quarterback in the league. So as for their young studs, they've got a young, talented team. So we'll see if they can put it together.
Yeah, as the longer into the process we went last year with Zach Wilson, the more I started calling him kind of a project player. A developmental quarterback, rather, not so much project. Anyways, moving on to the salary cap and the roster configuration this coming year. Right now, the Jets have $19.6 million in salaries in cap space. In 2022, they've got $60.6 million. So this upcoming offseason, they're going to have a lot of money to spend. That's kind of a theme for them these days. They'll have 52 players on the roster in 2022. So this coming offseason, so they've got a lot of spending space and a lot of, and not like they don't have massive needs in terms of the amount of players on their team. They'll be able to make it work, and they'll be able to spend a little bit this coming off season. So that's pretty healthy of them. 2023, they're going to have 33 players on their roster and have $128 million. So once again, they pretty much double their space. They do lose a big chunk of their players, so they'll be able to, you can expect to see a lot of re-signings in 2022 in preparation for that 23 bump. And then in 2024, they have $210 million with only 11 players on the roster. So, that's not going to last. They're going to resign a lot of guys. But that increase is very healthy. They got about doubles it each year. So that's pretty solid. On their top 5 cap numbers, they got Carl Lawson, who they just lost at $14.3 million. Corey Davis, the wide receiver they took from the Titans, $12.6 million. Marcus May, the safety, he's at a $10.6 million cap hit. George Fant, their right tackle, $9.8 million. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And then Connor McGovern, their center, at $9.3 million. George Fant, last year when I did like a team breakdown for the Jets, it was in preparation for the draft. It was in preparation for the offseason. I wanted them to cut him last year. Thought he was too much. You could free up a lot of space cutting him. They didn't. Now they're paying him, a little bit more. So I think that's a poor decision on their part. As strengths of their team, I like their linebacker core. Particularly, obviously, CJ Mosley will hopefully, come back and play this whole year. They've got Gerard Davis from the Lions. They've got Hamza Nasruddin, Blake Cashman. They drafted Jamian Sherwood. So they got a lot of depth there. I put safety with a question mark because I really like Marcus May. They got Marcus May, Ashton Davis, and LaMarcus Joyner. So there's a lot of potential there. Marcus May is obviously a very solid safety. That alone can pull it into a strength. That's pretty much all the strengths I have for this Jets team. They have a lot of average or unproven positions, which I'll get to in a second. Their weaknesses, I have offensive line because only, in my opinion, one side of that O-line is good, and that is the Mekhi Becton and Elijah Vera Tucker side. The other side, Greg Van Roten and George Fant, not as high on.
Morgan Moses.
Oh, you're right. They did have Morgan Moses. That was not on our lads. He is. I just didn't see him. All right, yeah. touche. Morgan Moses, that is a much better unit now than I thought. Still not perfect. I think their interior could use a little work. Assuming Morgan Moses still has what he had at Washington, he could be very good for them. Their pass rush is now, I said earlier, is still missing some talent. They're missing pretty much half the other half of the line. Now that they're missing Carl Lawson, they're missing a lot more of that. So pass rush is a big weakness. And then their cornerback room is absolutely brutal right now. They've got Blesson Austin, Bryce Hall, Javelin Guici, I don't even know how to say his name. Michael Carter, the second, and then Brandon Eccles. They're really lacking a lot of cornerback talent. They're a big candidate to maybe be drafting. We're getting some crazy comments here. They might be a candidate for the Ellis Derek Stingley sweepstakes. So keep an eye on that. Average and unproven positions. Unproven is quarterback. Obviously, with Zach Wilson, running back. Unproven, I consider the wide receiver position and tight end positions average, and their interior defensive line average at best. I'll give it to Alec first. What do you think of this? This roster, this cap situation. It's a young team. They've got some pieces. If Carl Lawson was healthy, this would be a little bit better. What do you think?
Well, Carl Lawson was about to have like a career year in that Robert Saleh defense, so it's a little disappointing to not be seeing him out there. But as for the roster in general, I'd say it's a year away at least. And like you talked about, next year, talking about $66 million in cap while still having a ton of players under contract for next year. You're going to get to play with some money because Zach Wilson's on that rookie deal. So I think that next year is really the year where they're going to have to draft well. And then they do have the extra picks, I think, going into next year still from the Jamal Adams deal and the Sam Darnold deal. So they're going to have to draft well, and they're going to have to sign some players. But it's not this year for the Jets. I don't think that they realistically, roster talent-wise, match up with the Patriots. I don't think they match up with the Bills, and I don't think they match up with the Dolphins. So it's going to be a next year thing for them.
Renz, anything you want to add there?
No, I agree. This is a roster that's still being built. You let Sam Darnold out the door, who we'll talk about in a second. You bring in Zach Wilson. I don't really believe in him. Hope he proves me wrong. If he does, I think this is a roster that's on the right path. Got to continue to draft well. Got to bring in talent. I know you talked about the quarterback room being brutal. I think the first thing to make this defense work is to get a pass rush, to get a consistent pass rush. This is really what they should be looking at. If they draft top 5 and you get to choose between a corner and a pass rusher and a Robert Saleh defense, you got to give them the pass rusher. Luckily, it's a good class to need pass rushers. So, like Alex said, we'll get into the win total here in a little bit, but this is not a 2021 Super Bowl contender at all.
Now, when we talk about their upcoming draft class, it's pretty fun. If you look at the page on Tankathon, it's just like a very colorful space. So they've got 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a third, fourth, fifth, or 2 fifths, and then 3 sixths. Can you guys, off the top of your head, how many teams do you think are represented in the Jets picks? So how many teams, including themselves, of their different picks do you think they have?
5.
Yeah, I would have said 5.
It's 6 or 7. Let me recount.
Oh, wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6. They've got Seahawks, Panthers, Steelers, 49ers, and Tampa Bay picks. So they're a very colorful Tankathon page. They're going to be able to use that. Their over-under for this year is 6 wins. I am going to lean the under, especially that Carl Lawson loss. That hurts so much. That he was a very important piece of that defense. I'm going to go under. I think Zach Wilson's going to have a lot of growing pains. I think this Jets team in general is a consistent case of growing pains. I'm riding that under. How about you guys? How about Lorenz?
I'm with you. I really like Robert Saleh. I believe in this regime. I believe in this coaching staff. But I think 6 or 7 wins even would be a really good season for them. I think they end up with probably 5, maybe 6. I'm taking the under slightly. I'm not super confident in it, but if I have to pick out a 6, I'm going under on for the Jets.
I'd honestly take the push on that. I feel like 6 is – they're playing a last place schedule as well. And they, assuming they pull out 1 or 2 in division, I think that they could realistically pull out 6. but I don't think they can pull out 7.
And I was just gonna say I wouldn't be shocked just because I believe in Robert Saleh and because this is such a young team. I wouldn't be shocked if they go on a bit of a run towards the end of the year where they win a game here or there and then maybe get to that. But I don't think it's gonna be great early on.
Yeah, so fair enough. Moving on to the Panthers. The Panthers drafted J.C. Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina, Terrace Marshall, the wide receiver at LSU, Brady Christensen, the offensive tackle out of BYU, Chuba Hubbard, the running back out of Oklahoma State, Davion Nixon, you're erasing stuff out of my thing. Davion Nixon, defensive tackle out of Iowa, Keith Taylor, the corner out of Washington, Deontay Brown, the guard out of Alabama, one of Lorenz's favorite players in this draft, Shi Smith, the wide receiver out of South Carolina, Thomas Fletcher, the long snapper out of Alabama. He had a very wholesome video of the head coach Matt Rule drafting him, and then Phil Hoskins, the defensive tackle out of Kentucky. Shout out Dowell once again. We're talking Kentucky players. Youngtown on their first-year deal. I like Derek Brown, the defensive tackle. I like Brian Burns. Everyone likes Brian Burns, the edge rusher. DJ Moore is still on his first-year deal. I didn't realize that until I was checking. That's a steal. And then Jeremy Chin had a breakout rookie campaign. He's a stud. And then, of course, Joey Sly, the man, the myth, the legend, the kicker. Lorenz tried to delete him, but I remembered him. I assume that was you, Lorenz. Fellas, Lorenz, what do you think of this young batch? Especially Jeremy Sly.
You know, this is such a nice list of young studs with Derek Brown, Brian Burns, DJ Moore, and Jeremy Chin, who are all in their own rights young studs. I didn't want you to ruin it with Joey Sly, who's got a big leg and is a fine kicker, but I wouldn't say he's a young stud foundational piece or whatever. I just wanted to say this draft class.
It was a joke.
It better have been. This draft class was excellent. This was one of my favorite draft classes out there. I had first-round grades on their first 2 picks. Terrace Marshall Jr., I think, already showing what type of talent he is. There were some injury concerns why I fell. I think J.C. Horn's going to be a really good corner in the league. Press corner. Brady Christensen I wasn't too high on him. I thought that was a reach. Same with Chuba Hubbard. But then you go get Davion Nixon, who's got a really good first step on the interior. Can sort of give you what Derek Brown can't really give as a quick penetrating rusher if he can keep his stuff off the field together. Keith Taylor is a big physical corner in the mold of J.C. Horn. Not as good, obviously, but he's going to be someone who, if you have Keith Taylor backing up J.C. Horn, I like that because that speaks to what you want to do. Deontay Brown, I think, can be a starting guard in this league, already lost some weight. Man, what a steal here. Shi Smith can be a starting slot receiver in the league. So you really get depth throughout this draft. I was a big fan of it. If they keep drafting like that, it won't matter that they didn't take Justin Fields over Sam Darnold, or it'll matter less. Other way around, they took Sam Darnold, didn't take Justin Fields, which obviously Fields turns out to be a stud and Sam Darnold turns out to be bad for this team. That's going to be the one thing everyone's going to remember from this draft, but I think they're going to get a number of starters out of this group. I really like it a lot.
Alec, any thoughts there you want to add?
I just think that what they're doing here with this team is real impressive. The young players they've brought in, they've really hit on. And though I don't agree with a couple of the picks that they made in the draft, I do think that they have done a wonderful job getting some young talent in here. I think Sam Darnold is going to work out for them, but even if he doesn't, I think that they're in a situation where they're just in need of a quarterback. So they're in a spot where they can sell out for quarterback, and it's not so bad to be in right now. And Matt Rule has done a wonderful job there.
Yeah, it's funny we talk about if they should have gone for quarterback this year. I wrote like a 3,000 word memo or manifesto about this. I thought the Panthers should have thrown everything they had to, or at everything they had at getting a quarterback this year. And then Justin Fields fell in their lap and they didn't take him. Next year, this has changed since, but next year they were expected $100 million in free space. And they had all these young guys in the pipeline. J.C. Horn's a stud, but I really thought they should have gotten a quarterback. I am not on the Sam Darnold train. I didn't really like him coming out. This is before I was like really, had a better idea of what I was talking about. But at the time, I didn't like Sam Darnold too much. So Alec, we're gonna duke it out here. But But yeah, other than that, I really like what these Panthers are doing. They should have gotten Justin Fields. Anyways, 2021, they've got a $24 million in cap space. That's pretty good. That's right now they've got that space. They could add a player if they needed to. They could, trade for someone. They could take on a big cap hit. Obviously they put in a lot of extensions and, there's a reason why their cap space dropped so much. So that now this in 2022 they're only going to have $31 million, and that is with 46 players on the roster. So they signed some guys on the offensive line. They re-signed some guys as well. There's reason why it dropped. 2023 they're expecting $122.8 million and 30 players on their roster. So they're going to have a lot of re-signing to do there. And then in 2024, just under $200 million with 14 players. So their long-term space isn't as healthy as like a team like the Jets. But that's because right now it looks a lot better. Now their top 5 contracts, the top 5 cap hits, Taylor Moton, their right tackle, he's at a $20.5 million cap hit. I think that's it sounds expensive. Moton's a really good offensive tackle for this Panthers team. I am okay with that kind of spending for this kind of player. For the most part, I hate high numbers. I hate seeing these high cap hit numbers, but I like Taylor Moton. I think this is an okay signing. Christian McCaffrey is next, $17.7 million. Oh wait, no, I'm looking at 2024. Whoops. This year is Robbie Anderson at $12 million, Shaq Thompson at $8 million, Christian McCaffrey at $6.9 million, Matt Paradis, their safety, at 5.6, and then Derek Brown at 5.3. So that's actually a much healthier current spending situation, considering their first round draft pick from last year is in their top 5. That shows a lot of healthy cap. That shows that right now the players that they're paying for, the ones that they just drafted, which means that they're not overspending in free agency. My apologies, I hadn't clicked out of the 2024 page quite yet. Moving on to strengths and weaknesses, I really like their wide receiver core. I'm a huge DJ Moore guy. I really like Curtis Samuel back in the day. They drafted Terrace Marshall. They've got David Moore. They got Robbie Anderson. That's a good unit. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running backs in the league, if not the best, depending on who you ask. Their pass rush now looks a lot better. I'm going to consider it a strength. They've got Derek Brown, Brian Burns, and then Hassan Reddick on the other side. So it's a kind of an excellent little outside linebacker pass rushing duo. Looking at their corners, I like their corners. I think J.C. Horn. I know that this kind of goes against my rule. J.C. Horn, I think, is going to be a stud. Him and Dante Jackson, I think, is a solid core. They also have A.J. Bouye on the roster. And then I really liked Keith Taylor. He's kind of one of those guys that might be one of the guys that pounds the table a little hard for him, but I like Keith Taylor quite a bit. He's obviously unproven. Weaknesses, I consider Sam Darnold a weakness. I consider this quarterback room weakness. I do not like this pairing. I thought that they should get. We can battle it out in a minute. Average, that's their only weakness on the roster, in my opinion. Average and unproven. I think their offensive line has gotten significant improvement. I think it's still average, or they haven't shown that they can be above average yet. I think their tight end room is average. Interior defensive line, Derek Brown's fantastic. The rest could use a little bit of a bump. This one hurts me a little bit. Safety, I have as average or unproven. Jeremy Chin is fantastic. He kind of plays. He's like a defensive weapon type. It seems he plays a little bit of linebacker, a little bit of safety. Not quite a pure safety. Then their other safety is Justin Burris. I'm going to consider that average. And then their linebacker room, what used to be one of their best strengths, I'm now considering average. Shaq Thompson, Jermaine Carter, Hassan Reddick. If you consider him one of their linebackers, I consider him more of a pass rusher. I consider that Shaq Thompson, Jermaine Carter as average. What do you guys think, Alec? I'll give you a shot to respond about Sam Darnold, and then the Rens, you can talk about it whatever you want. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, my dog was barking. Sam Darnold's unproven right now. That's for sure. He hasn't done enough to be considered a strength, but I think that he will work out in that offense. That Joe Brady's going to make him look good. But I agree with most of what you said. I think that the strengths of this roster are going to be a lot more in a couple years, because I think that they're about to have a couple breakouts with some players. So, yeah, I agree. I agree with most of what you said.
Thank you. Lorenz, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more optimistic about Sam Darnold now that he is on. We'll let it fly down. Flip Cup challenge.
It's fair.
That's fair enough. Man, Sam Darnold, I'm a lot more optimistic on this Panthers team with Joe Brady than I was with Adam Gase on the Jets. That said, right now, he's like another bad season and a half away from just being done as like being considered as a young hopeful type guy. But if he can turn it around, that's great. I don't love the offensive line. I think tight end. I think tight end and wide receiver and running back, their weapons, what they have around Sam Darnold, if they did have a good offensive line, is really solid. I think Tommy Tremble's going to do well, but this is obviously an offense that utilizes 3 wide receiver sets a ton, and they have a bunch of talent there. Really hoping for Sam Darnold to pull together. That's at the end of the day what's going to make or break this team. But yeah, I agree with you. They've built a really solid roster. It's going to continue getting better. I love their draft class. If they can get over the quarterback hurdle, I think this is a team that's building the right way. And Carolina, they could soon contend. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but if they get it right, they could soon be contending year after year.
Yeah, and that's a tough division to do that, but I agree with you. Dal, welcome to the watch. We've given you 2 shout-outs today.
Yeah.
2 shout-outs earlier. You missed them both. But okay, you have a good excuse. You're playing Flip Cup.
Yeah, totally reasonable.
Yeah. All right, so Panthers draft picks. They're missing their second rounder, but they got a first, third, fifth, sixth, and seventh. They're missing their own fourth, but they have the Houston Texans fourth, which will probably be a much better pick than their fourth will be. And then looking at their over-unders, sorry, Lawrence. Looking at their over-under is 7.5 wins this year. I don't know how I feel about that, so I'm going to throw it to you first, Lorenz. What do you think of this over-under?
Muted.
You are also muted.
I'm this is difficult because I mean I think they get 8. I think they win 8 games. I think they're too good coaching staff wise, too talented to not win 8 games. But man, Sam Darnold better not be Jets Sam Darnold, because then they'll win like 4. So I'll go over. I'll trust him one more time. This might be a mistake, but I'll do it one more time. I think they win 8 games. I think they're good enough to do it. If not, PJ Walker's a stud. Someone trade for that dude.
I think they're realistically anywhere in that 7 to maybe 10, but really more so 9 win range. I think that's like I think they'll be there because the range is a little bit heavier on the over side. I'm gonna take the over, but I am not screaming that over. I'm gonna take the over, but just barely.
I'm also going to take the over just barely. I think they can squeeze out 8 wins. Probably more likely because of PJ Walker than no, I'm just kidding.
I will say this though. I think that my sleeper candidate for Defensive Player of the Year is Brian Burns.
Yeah, I've heard that a couple times. Yeah, people thinking. Yeah, I'd love to see that. Big Brian Burns fan here. I'll take the over. I think that they have just enough talent, particularly on that defensive side, that they'll win a few more games than they should. I think that next year is like when you should start looking out for the Panthers to really compete. I think that they're an 8-win team here. If it was a push at 7, I'd take that too. I think they're 7 to 8 wins here, but with a very bright future. That is all we have today. Alec, you want to pull us out?
Yeah. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Sorry, Dowell, that you weren't here for the shout outs, but you could always rewatch, like you said. So, but we'll be back on Saturday for another morning NFL breakdown. We're getting through these, and then before you know it, we'll be in college football season. So get ready for that. Get ready for all the college football content that you want. Go to the NFLDraftBible.com. We just released the new scouting lens. I don't know who writes it, but apparently there's this guy who writes it, and he's like real good, whatever. But go check that out. Go check out all the other content that we've got going on at the NFL Draft Bible. Follow Conference One on Twitter. Ton of great great new stuff going on in the esports world. We just had another meeting today. Looks like phenomenal things happening for that. So be on the lookout for that. And any final words, guys, before we get out of here?
I've got 2 things to say. 3 if you include the Eagles, which we just won't. If you get the chance,
that counts as one thing. I'm just joking.
I'm working with a buddy of mine. He's an up and coming, sports writer. If you get the chance, just check out Garrett Whistle. His Twitter is GWiss with four S's. I'm gonna talk to him tonight. Just if you get the chance, give him a follow. He's gonna start putting out some great content. Awesome guy. Very funny on Twitter. I'm just giving him a plug. Also, everyone known that NFLSQTV.com with a heart. It is the best deal for the money. And now I wanted to read that comment. I think that's the funniest thing. The comment we got on the side. I know I have had them all smile. So if you're interested in whatever that guy's talking about, I think that'd be quite nice.
Check out the comments.
Yeah. Go Birds this tonight. They're gonna lose to the Patriots who they beat in the Super Bowl.
Mac Jones gonna go off.
No, he's not.
I just ordered one of those things, whatever that dude was advertising for. So great stuff marketing on here. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We'll be back Saturday. And go to the NFLDraftBible.com. Go read the scouting lens on who I think is going to be the best tight end in this senior class.
I think I knew who that is.
Find out who it is.
Senior class.
Mm-hmm.
Best senior tight end because I really like Jaleel Billingsley. But
I was gonna
second best tight end I watched so far. Go check it out.
Go check it out.